I think modern strength training, if you're a coach that's really pushing yourself, pushing the envelope, am I doing everything that I can do? Is there something else that I can add? Can I elevate to another height so I can see a little bit more of the city? Okay, so I'm not just making decisions on my block. No, I can see the more of the city so I can make bigger decisions. It should be a hybrid. There's nothing wrong with certain elements of any of those things that you mentioned. So if there's nothing wrong in it, actually there's some beneficial things, why can't we use them? The thing is, look, functional training as we know it, or the things that you know we were talking about, how are you going to study that, bro? How are you going to study the things that Tony and I were talking about? How are you going to study that? Too many confounding variables. Okay, powerlifting, it's easy. It's 3 reps, 5 sets of 3s, or whatever, however you want to, 5 sets of 5. Okay, you do that for 6 weeks versus 5 sets of 10. Ooh, look, when you're going triples heavier, you get stronger for a single. Yay! Where are the confounding variables? There are none. Bodybuilding, you got hypertrophy, whatever, you got DEXA for a body composition. Okay, 8 weeks of, 8 sets times 2 per week times 10 reps per body systems, yitty, versus 1 set to failure. Multiple sets versus 1 set to failure. Easy to measure, easy to study. Go ahead and study the shit we're doing. Right. Go ahead and study the shit we're doing. The confounding variables are going to be a million. How are you going to control that? What's your measurement? How are you going to control the thing that we control in scientific research, which is the instruction? So if there are instructions, we usually read them because you don't want coach involvement. You don't want motivation. So we read the instructions very monotone so everybody gets the same shit, right? Okay, that's not coaching, bro. If you hear me coach my boys, you're at the UFC right now. Punish them, throw elbows. You got, like my voice goes. And they say, Coach, when you talk to me like that, I'm in the UFC. I get anxious and I see that guy's face in between. I said, great, because the body doesn't know the difference between a real chick and a wet dream. That's right. That's why. My job is to create the wet dream here because I don't have the UFC. I don't have the real chick. I don't have the octagon. Ooh, which leads me to something, Tony. We all know that you need to practice to create a skill that's subcortical and it's done reflectively, okay, instead of reactively. Yes?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah? Okay, so we know this, right? Okay. But we can't spar 100% because we would kill all the other guys.
Exactly.
Okay, so how do you get a wizard to wrist control, to push, bam, boom, and smash a friggin' elbow into the face where even if it's blocked, it's cutting something? Where do you practice that? You don't. You don't practice that because there's no methodical practice on any bag where you're actually developing punching power progressively, periodically, like periodizing punching power.
Right.
How do you develop it then? Because these guys hit the bag. Okay, 30 seconds left, sprint. Pop, 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 pop. And okay, I hope that my jab is harder, my right is harder, my hooks are harder. But yeah, wait a minute. When you want your biceps stronger, you do curls, right? And then if you want them really strong, you do 5 reps. If you want volumized, you do 12 reps. Where is that in punching? It doesn't exist.
No, there's nothing systematic. You're absolutely right.
We have it systematic now.
Yeah.
Okay, and we're getting the punch cube installed so we can actually see 80% of your maximum RM here. So we're going to develop bone mineral density, punching power, which is a separate skill.
Yeah.
It's like neural firing for a 1 RM. Yeah. That's a skill set you don't find if you're doing 12 reps.
Yep.
So these people don't get better systematically. They get better organically and by chance.
Which, what I'm sorry, Tony, go ahead.
No, it's a great point. There's not really, it's almost arbitrary in how the brain is processing the information. And fortunately, sometimes it's getting it wrong and sometimes it's getting it right. Over time, it gets a little bit more right than it got wrong. But I understand exactly there's no linear progression that is utilized to measure technique. Is there an increase in velocity in the strike, right? How the strike is being thrown. But really, those are just good points. But go on, Jim.
But no, Tony, I want to hear from you the original question. How do you mix and how do you conceptualize the Olympic weightlifting, the powerlifting, the bodybuilding? Because there's utility in all. How do you come across? How do you put your programs together? How do you consider all these different modalities when you're working with any athlete?
Well, I think, okay, so you said it beautifully. Why is anything first being discounted? It may have lower priority, any one type of training practice, right? So it's the same thing with diet. Like, oh, I only eat this way, I only eat that way, I only eat this way. Yeah, well, Wednesday, it might be okay to eat carnivore, and then it might be all right to go back to Mediterranean on Tuesday. There's nothing wrong. You might be able to use elements of each diet and actually benefit from that. So to me, the strength training is a playbook. It's like Andy Reid sitting on the sidelines with a big card, and I'm going to assess what does the fighter potentially need the most, right? So all fighters need the same biomotor qualities. They need these qualities in order to excel. They don't possess those qualities equally, right? And so some may be, as you were saying earlier, with the tennis player, right? So how do I optimize, what's his name, the smaller guy, Chang, is
Michael
it?
Chang?
Yeah. What do we do to optimize his abilities? So some of the movements in that playbook, if you will, I'm going to take these different things that are available and utilize them, one, to further what they are strong in, and then potentially strengthen what they may be a bit weak in. But there's not an advanced prototype workout for that. So I may choose from a whole, like I said, I have a playbook, JC. Okay, this individual needs more of A, B, and C. Based upon their age, they don't have great lifting experience prior. They're 20 years old. Maybe I do need to build some bone density and a little bit more thickness and resiliency in the tendons if they're going to be doing this for another 10 years, right? So each individual is going to get a separate prescription because they may not need entirely the same type of workout or qualities to be augmented. So I have that playbook, and that's why I liked what you said, is I'm not going to rule out immediately one particular style of training because it may have some utility. It may not be emphasized, but there may be some point in a fighter where a little bit of hypertrophy helps in the trap in the neck, for example, right? For, when they're getting for impact. So for me, strength training is using the best tools available that are most appropriate for the needs of that individual at that time. I wish I could have something more enlightening than that, but that's what it is to me.
But it's a hybrid model. You have
totally
all
hybrid.
Things available. It's Jeet Kune Do. It's all things available.
Of course, exactly.
What if you have 3 weeks? You want to start building bone mineral density? You got 3 weeks, man. I drop them straight into power endurance, and I'm going to tell you, look, if I don't kill you, they will.
Yeah.
So you die here before you die there.
And you will get 3 weeks. You're right. So, but that's to my point, right? The playbook changes. The card is a different play. It's now 4th and 15. It's not 4th and 1.
Exactly.